All right, everybody ready? All right, just a little bit of a recap. Going back and watching the film against Marshall. Played well on defense like we thought, and especially in the second half. I thought special teams were inconsistent for our standards and needs to improve so we can win the field position battle in those areas. And offensively, simply we need to score touchdowns. We move the ball, we didn't put it in the end zone enough times, and we got to take care of the ball. So those things stood out. As far as this week, getting to Portland State, we'll talk about them here in a minute. We do have a couple guys on our staff. Eric Keesaw, who played quarterback at Portland State. And then we also have Justin Wood, one of our analysts, who also played quarterback at Portland State. So we are monitoring their phone calls and making sure that we know where they're at all times, and they understand that. So, but yeah, getting into the next game here, and excited to be back home on the blue again and have a normal week. This will be truly a normal week for us. So now we can check the schedule that we have. We moved to morning practices. That's been a little bit different. We're still messing with some start times in the morning, and we'll try something a little bit different. It's only a 15-minute difference on one of the days, but just to get our guys back into a rhythm of what a normal week is like for the coaches and the players. It'll be good to do that before we go play Saturday night. And to be back home in Albertson Stadium, one thing just from the game that I took away, the student section, phenomenal. They did a great job. You could feel them out there all game long, and I think everybody, players, coaches, they all mentioned that to me. I certainly felt it. And those guys, just to have our students come out there and have that much support for their football team and to be into the game like that, and they're in a tight ball game when we needed them, those things are important. So we'll be doing a few things for our students, try to take care of them, have some fun with it. They're enjoying it. We're going to enjoy it. That's what college football is all about. So in this next week, we'll do some things for them and make sure that they know they're appreciated every time they come out there. Hopefully it's even better this next game. So we'll challenge our students to be better this game. We challenge our team to be better this game, and then we'll take it from there. So with that, open up for questions.
So many fun things I could start with, but I'm going to start with what was the punishment? What did you have to do yesterday?
Well, I wouldn't tell you what I did with the players. I'm not going to tell you what I did for myself, but I thought the punishment fit the crime, and that's been handled. So we're good there. We're moving on, and we're running Portland State now. The guys, we took care of our business. We put Marshall to bed last night and just corrected the things that we had to. Got on to Portland State, and when you watch Portland State, starting with their defense, just what they provide as far as different looks, multiple looks, a flex defense, and they played Arkansas very tough. They put up, their offense put up a bunch of points in their last game, and so we just got to get ourselves ready for Portland State. That's the focus. That's really what we need to be focused on. And for this team and the guys that are in this room, we talk about our next opponent. That's truly who we need to be focused on. And Portland State is that. Just a few things about Portland State. Their offense, Dirk Cutter's son Davis is on that team, and I remember Davis and obviously Coach Cutter. So that's something that connection piece right there. It's always neat to see some of these Broncos that are out there doing really good things. Kellen Moore. Everybody saw his debut, and we were all excited for him. Kellen did a great job. The Cowboys played fantastic. Leighton's out there. A lot of our players are on that team. But got a chance to see Kellen go out there in his first opportunity to coach and perform in a real game, not a preseason game, and they didn't disappoint, which is not surprising. With how I know that guy's going to prepare his team, how he's going to lead, the qualities he has, and you can see the guys around him really respect him. And that's something that we're very proud of, because guys like that, we're lucky that we had him here in our program, but it's always, the mission is to see these guys leave here and be successful. And if it's football, whatever else they're doing, it doesn't matter. It happened to be football in this case, but he took center stage and he went out there and did a great job. And they're 1-0, just like anybody else, and he's focused on the next game. I don't know who they play, but excited to see what he continues to do. And then Portland State, back to them, just offensively, anticipate these guys coming in and having a good game plan. I like their quarterback. David Alexander, I think he's athletic, he moves, he's competitive. They've got a tight end, that's a guy. They got backs, and they're going to be able to move the ball. And so on defense, we got to come out and start faster. We got to play with better eyes. We got to play in our gaps, our position, all the things you have to do on defense. It just has to happen sooner in the games. And special teams, that's still a challenge for us right now. I thought we did some things on special teams in the game. I thought our kickoff return, we had a chance on a couple of them. We got loose. Maybe a chance on another one. Punt team, we were good. We were good in protection, some of those other things like that, but we were not very good on the punts. And those have to clean up and be a lot more consistent. We missed a field goal, and that was one of the reasons why we didn't really go further and try another one. We went for a long yardage situation that was pretty desperate. And that's one right there. You go back, and maybe that's a timeout situation there to rethink it and decide what we want to do. I don't think punting was the right decision because it goes in the end zone, you get 10 yards. That's not really what we want to do. But also let Joel get out there if it's a longer one, let him take a shot at some of those longer kicks. So we're building, and we want to get opportunities for our returners. So we're building in special teams. I do like what the coaches are doing. I do like the way the players are practicing, but it needs to show up in the games. And this week, it's going to be a big focus on all three phases. It's going to be a major focus on ball security and tackling, being in the right position, having great eyes, and then truly being a more disciplined football team all around. I think we have the ability to do that. I don't think that we've shown that in 2 games consistently enough. And if you're going to go out there and you're going to play well, you have to be disciplined. And you've got to do it consistently throughout the game. And I don't think that we've shown that quite yet. And if we don't, then that's going to put us in a bad situation. We dug ourselves out of a hole a couple times in these games and did just enough to find a way to win, which that is part of it. That's a competitive side. You like to see that from your players. At the same time, I don't think anybody's happy with the performances that we've had. I don't think anybody's sitting here saying, hey, that's what it is. We've got it figured out. By no means is that the case. And so our standards are much higher. We have higher expectations of ourselves. And this week, it needs to start. I thought Sunday was a good performance by our team. We got some of the young guys, the developmental guys. We put them in pads. We let those guys play. They got to go cut it loose because those guys in 2 or 3 weeks might end up being the guys. So they have to get ready to go out there and execute and still run our base stuff and make sure they're playing ball. But overall, we hit this meeting room again Tuesday morning. We talk about Portland State. We start getting our game plan together. Tuesday's practice better be better. And it better be more consistent, and the discipline, those things need to show up. And the coaches, players, everybody understands that. And it needs to happen on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it should show up in the game. All those things. If that happens, then I hope we have a better performance and we play to our standards and we do it for 4 quarters, the things we talk about, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the game.
Two of coming into the season, just areas that you didn't know about with the running back and the quarterback, and then at least on Friday night, you had 2 true freshmen step up in those spots.
Sure.
What has stood out to you about their ability to do that, and also it just I don't know if true freshmen now just seem like they're more ready to step into those roles these days, but what has stood out to you about that?
Well, yeah, having those guys out there. One, they got to go out there and execute. At that point, we never really sit back and get on the headset and be like, hey, we got 2 true freshmen out there. It's just call plays and do whatever you got to do to go out there and win. But those guys handled themselves well. I thought, again, I'll go back to Marshall played really well. I went back and watched their game plan. They did a good job. They spent a whole entire offseason preparing for the Broncos, and it showed up. And that's something that wasn't surprising, but they did play really well. They did execute their job and their assignment. And so, like I told you before, I'm not going to take away from them. However, we left things out there on the field that we could have taken advantage of. We had a few throws, we had a few runs that were there, and that's real football. You're playing good teams, you're going to get inches is what you're going to get, and inches matter between a different score in the game, winning and losing, all those things. But Hank handled himself well. Hank went through a real week of preparation on a short week too, and that's one of the things, again, Florida State, you go back to the first game, you have all this time to prepare for it, and then you go to Marshall, and you've got a shorter week to prepare for that. And so just understanding the difference in, all right, we have new ideas, new plays, new things that are going to be in the game plan. You got to study and prepare yourself. And I thought he's done a good job of that. We can be better. And George in the backfield, He did really well. He ran hard. I think when there was opportunities to find positive yards, he did that. And then, again, Marshall came up and they defeated us at the line of scrimmage on a few plays. They got in the backfield. We tried to eliminate as many negative plays as possible. And we had the poor snap down there in the red zone. George got on it, so it was a heads-up play. It saved us from having a truly real negative play, but it didn't put us in any better position to score a touchdown. At the end of the game, one of the things that, end of the half, we had called a timeout. There was 40-some seconds left in there. We ran a play, and we were going to have to get back on the ball and run it again. Our guys handled that as good as they could have. Those two plays back-to-back, the one that Hank ran in and scored and dove in, that was really well done. That was something we had to adjust on the fly right before that situation. That's the one thing, too, that it's hard to just sit there and try to come up with every scenario possible that's going to happen in a game. And that happened in the game, and right there, we're sitting there with the timeout, and it's like, hey, this is what we have to do. And right then and there, that's the first time we did it that way. And those guys were like, all right, they're back on the ball. Killian Butler's over there. Marshall's piling off slow, which they should be doing. Killian's over there telling guys, clapping his hands, let's go, get back on the ball, and we score. And that ends up being a big play in that game, obviously in a tight ball game like that. So those things, just learning from it, applying it, being better at it, understanding when we sit in here, we talk about it, we got to be focused on it, and not going out there and taking anything for granted.
You mentioned trying to score more points, and obviously the red zone touchdowns and the fumbles are two things that kind of at least stand out. I guess kind of a two-part question, but with the red zone, do you guys have I know you want to say 100%, but is there a touchdown percentage number that's acceptable or that you go for, and what are you seeing there? And then the 8 fumbles already, I think only 2 teams have fumbled more than you guys so far. What are you seeing there too?
Yeah, I'm really, the whole fumble thing, that's upsetting. And we've done well in the past, and we've kind of used a formula to take care of the football, but I don't sit there and think I believe in what we've done. At the same time, if it's not working right now, we need to change it. We're not going to sit there and just say, well, it's supposed to work like this. We'll go figure out a better way to do it. And we'll use some of the things that we believe in, the techniques that we have, but you put the ball on the ground that many times, this guy's taking care of it too. I mean, stretching the ball out, and we're putting it in harm's way. If we hold on to it like we're supposed to, we have a better chance of not putting the ball on the ground. We're putting the ball in harm's way is what we're doing. And that's just undisciplined football, in my opinion. You can't do that. Otherwise, the ball's going to bounce out. The ball bounces out, guy picks it up, and they don't call it down. The one on Hank's third down conversion, whatever it was, they got the ball flat out, and the kid made a great play. I mean, to scoop that up and keep his feet in bounds, they could have called it both ways in that situation. We're not disciplined enough with the football, and that's concerning. We have signs in here that say it's all about the ball, and that's not what we're doing. And so those don't mean anything. Signs, whatever, they don't mean anything right now until we start doing it. And then as far as the red zone, yeah, I've always used 70%. We want to score touchdowns, 90%. We want to score 100% of the time, but usually you're scoring 90% of the time in a season. You're getting 70% touchdowns when you get inside the red zone, inside the 25-yard line. That's pretty good. I mean, we're shooting for top 10. We're shooting to be one of the best in the country. Right now, we're not. We're one of the worst, and that's frustrating. Right now, I mean, that's something that we're talking about as a staff. That's not the standard. It's unacceptable, and we can move the ball up and down the field, but who wants to be the great team between the 20-yard lines? Not us. We got to find a way to score, and that's our job on offense. It's number one, scoring offense. That's what you want to try to do, put the ball in the end zone. So whatever that is, changing it up from the coaching standpoint, changing up how we emphasize it, changing it up how we execute, who gets the ball, who's going to be making those plays in the red zone. Maybe we got to look at that too, and we're doing that this week, but we're going to drive down there and find a way to score, and I hope our team responds to that when we go play Saturday. I hope they respond to it on Tuesday, because we have a red zone period on Tuesday, and we'll see how they act when we get to the red zone. But you truly got to have, as a competitor, you're going to move the ball. You get in the red zone. You talk about smelling blood and getting down there and wanting to put it in the end zone. You got to truly have that in you. That's got to be part of your nature, that you're that close and you're not going to be denied. I don't know if we have that. I don't know if that's what we have to keep emphasizing with our players. We got to do a better job with our schemes, whatever it is. But it's not coming together right now the way we want it to, and that's not acceptable. and that's not where we want to be at this point. And it's 2 games, but 2 games tell you a lot about your team. And the red zone area is one that we got to fix.
Jake Stett started the other day, and I can't remember the last time there was a position player who you ask him how he got here. He's like, "Well, I came here as a student, and then I talked my way onto the football team." So, what do you remember about how you ended up with him, and how has he gotten himself from that to being a starter in a game?
Good question. Yeah, I think I really don't remember the whole story, Chad. Tharp was involved in that, and you lose guys during fall camp, or you lose guys because of transferring or leaving or whatever before the season starts, and you're like, hey, we need some more guys at this position, right? And there's a lot of guys on campus here that play football, so sometimes you just know, coach will tell you, hey, this guy played for me, he's on your campus, and you start talking to a few of them, and that's how they get on the team. It's happened before. And I believe that was part of his story, just how he got here, and Tharp talked to him. I think I met him for like 15 seconds or whatever, and like, hey, this guy's gonna come here and walk on, and he looked like an old lineman, and big old curly hair, thick neck, big body, and it's like, all right, we'll get him on the team here and see what he does. But he's one of those guys that took an opportunity, worked his tail off, and he's a tough kid. That's the one thing about Jake. Jake's a tough kid. He works hard. There's never a bad day at practice as far as his effort goes. And that's why he started. So he was always that 6th man in the rotation. And he did well in the game. He played well. We had him out there. We had a few guys banged up. And a few guys banged up in the game. They'll be okay. But that's his story. There's a few guys like that. I mean, just go back to some of these guys, how they got on the team. Avery Williams was like that. I remember he came in the spring, and Red introduced him to me. We're in the indoor. I talked to him for like 20 seconds, and he was like, yeah, I'd like to be here. He was a running back, and he ends up being a corner. And that's the story. You think there's a lot behind it. There's really not sometimes. Sometimes it's just a guy, and in his world, for these 2 guys, I just need a chance, right? Just give me a chance. I don't care who gives it to me. Let me get my foot in the door, and I'm going to do something with it. And that's exactly how things should be. And I just think that we make too big of a deal out of it sometimes, how guys, not that you're doing this, but how guys get here, but it's just what about them and their whole thought process, just to get their foot in the door and want to be a part of something. I wish more people were like that. Just give me a chance. Give me a chance, and when you do, I'm going to shine. I'm going to do everything I can to go in there and show you guys I should be a part of this. I can contribute. I can play at this level. And I just don't see that enough. But I'm glad we got him, and he made an impact in the game, helped us win.
It seems like after the catch, you guys have been pretty good this year.
After what?
After the catch, you guys have been pretty
After
good this
the
year.
catch.
Yeah, yards after
Receiving?
the catch. Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like you guys have been pretty explosive this year. I mean, AK's didn't count, but John, Khalil had another one. And then John.
How good have we been? Do you know those numbers?
I do.
What are they?
Almost 50% of your receiving yards have been after the catch this year.
That's good. Yeah. What's a good stat?
Going back right around like the last couple of years, it's been about, I'd say on average, about 42%.
For us?
Yeah.
Well, who does it? Who in the country does it really well? Do you know
God,
who the number 1 team is?
I don't got enough time for that, Coach. I wish I did.
Some area team,
Yeah.
Texas Tech or somebody like that.
Somebody to throw. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Oklahoma probably.
Yeah.
Oklahoma probably got run after catch. Right?
Mm-hmm. It just doesn't seem like you guys stick after the catch. I mean, it seems like those guys can make a play. And then
Sure.
I want to see John Bates too. I mean, could you sum up his value as a blocker? Because I mean, he obviously does that part of his game, but he's accelerated as a pass catcher too.
Well, so our tight ends had some catches, right? Been talking about that for how many years? 4 years now?
Every year.
Every
Yeah,
year
20.
now, so 5 years now. So those guys, Callingham, Bates, what do you have, 5 catches?
Yeah,
5 catches, and then Callingham had a couple in the game. He had the sweep in that 3rd down situation as well. Getting those guys involved, the tight ends, and they're there primarily to run block, and to be physical on the edge, to set an edge, to help us in the run game, and then we can get these guys loose a little bit. The one that John caught, I mean, you slow down the film, he goes up and he turns his body around, gets his eyes on the ball, and snatches it, and he's a big old target. He's 7 foot, and his arms are all stretched out there, and Hank finally found him, and that was good to see. But he's been getting better. He's more physical, he's stronger, he's in better shape. This is what happens when you mature, and then what I like about John's got that mentality, and that mentality of a guy that is out there, not just a tight end position, but he's a guy. And he practices hard, and he does things in the weight room the right way. He seems like he's on a mission to really improve his game, and right there with him, Collingham is right there with him. You know, Collingham's one of our smartest football players, and he made some, I won't tell you what plays, but I'll tell you this, he helped make some decisions in the game for our quarterback about where he should throw the ball, or what he should do with the ball, and he was right. You know, so you got leaders like that on the offensive side, they're your tight end position, and they understand what we're trying to do in the game plan. You know, the Stoney in there too, like we kind of laughed about it because I was bragging on Bates and Collingham in the team meeting, and then Stoney was in there as well. And when I talked about Stoney being a guy, he didn't catch any passes, anything like that. You know, everybody kind of chuckles, but without a guy like him blocking and doing the stuff that he does, you know, we don't have those edges like we want, and we're not running the ball like we want, being physical. So all three of those tight ends doing a really good job. Neil Hopper got in the game, got a chance to get in there and do some run blocking stuff, and then you know, utilizing Riley Smith at that position too. Now he's not where he needs to be weight-wise and all that, but Riley Smith can run. He's going to do some things at wide receiver, tight end, you know, weapon, whatever you want to call him. We'll get this guy hopefully more in the game plan. He can help us, which that just tells me what kind of teammate we recruited. When you got a guy that comes in here as quarterback, you got another quarterback that's starting, you got a couple guys ahead of him, and the guy's just like getting on the field. He'll do whatever it takes. We put him in receiver position. He pulls out a pair of gloves he got from Dale Holste. I don't know where he got them, throws them on, catches a couple balls, and we're like, all right, this guy can play receiver for us and do some things. And he's all about it. So that room along with Bates, you know, who's the guy, he and Collingham, both those guys are leaders on the team, you know, especially at that position. Those guys are doing a great job.
When you see, you know, Hank take some pretty big hits, it's been 2 weeks in a row now. Is that more of something of him holding on to the ball a little too long, or is that an O-line thing, or how would you kind of assess, you know, when you see that stuff, what's happening there?
Yeah, well, the one he got his head ripped off almost, the face mask. Yeah,
that was
that was a penalty right there. It's a combination. I think that we've hung on to it a little bit. I also think that teams have pressured us, and they've done a good job of it. I think that we've mishandled some of the pressures too. The combination of all those things. We're not exclusive to being the only team that gets pressured, and our quarterback gets hit and things like that. Now, some quarterbacks are going to see that pressure and get rid of it. You know, that's one of the things that I thought Brett would do a good job of as he got older, right? Pressure would come, and it might be balls out of bounds. You know, hey, we didn't have it. For whatever reason, they got us. And the ball was out of his hands, and guy might have nicked him in the chest, something like that. There's a few of those throws in there. You stand in there, and, you know, you watch it every game. I was watching LSU, and this Joe Burrows, was that the quarterback?
Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, so he's standing in there, a guy's barreling down on him, and man, he's just laser beams on his throw. And Hank's got that. That's one of the things too that Hank's got, where sometimes guys will move, and sometimes it's like you're standing right there, you're free, and my guy's going to come open. I know I'm taking it, but I'm going to deliver this ball. I'll take the shot. And that to me, like, that's why I think he's had success and why he will continue. He's tough. He can do that. And so some of those hits are hanging in there to help that play develop. Some of those hits are the ones that come off the edge, that are immediate. Those shouldn't happen. Those are protection issues. Those are our edges. Those are our tailbacks, whatever it might be. Not doing a good enough job in protection, but sometimes you hang in there in those deeper throws. You know, you're going to take a shot like that. Your eyes are going to be downfield, and I think he can handle all those things. The one is, you know, he got his head ripped off, and the guy came back and took another shot on him, and that's dangerous. You don't want to see that happen. And so we're trying to eliminate that as much as possible, but that's what quarterbacks do. And I watched a bunch of games on Saturday, and I saw a lot of the same things, guys hanging in there, making good throws, and they're football players too. You don't want your quarterback getting hit, but sometimes they do because of what they have to do to get the ball down the field.
Another Bachmeier question. A young freshman like this, they always talk about how much of the playbook he has access to. How much does he? Can he pick up more as the season goes on, or are you too busy getting prepared for the next game?
No, we're developing. It's an interesting thing because every quarterback's different. You know, Kellen, it was funny. Kellen's offense went from that door to where I'm standing, right, when he left here. And it was like, we could do anything. And Brett was right there too. And then but that was built over time. We didn't hand Grant Hedrick, all of what Kellen did. We didn't hand Rippon all of what Kellen did or Grant did or any of those other guys, even with Finley. And we're not giving Hank. You're going to pull out all the best things that you think you did over time that fits him, and he starts to build his offense. His will grow and be completely different. It's going to go that direction. And that's really what you have to do. Just say, this is what we believe. Here's some DNA plays, but here's what he can do well. Here's what our team does well. And you start building it like that. And so I would say right now, it's a work in progress. And 4 years from now, he's still playing quarterback and all that. Think about where he's going to be then. And then that offense is going to be large, huge, and then whoever that next guy is, they're not going to get the same thing. So we're not holding back. I would say we're just building. We're building on what we've done. We're building on what we're capable of doing. And right now it gets more interesting because now we can start pulling out maybe some plays we've done before and add them in. And he's better at it. He understands the other stuff he's run. Now we can move on to a few more advanced things. But he's got the offense. And I'll tell you, we played Florida State. We weren't holding back in Florida State. We weren't holding back in Marshall. We didn't start off the season like, hey, we're really holding back. We started off the season with, this is what we have right now. This is what we can handle. And we're pushing these guys to the limit every single week. They're studying hard, and I don't think anybody in this building is sitting there saying like, hey, that's not enough. We have enough in, and we just got to be smart that we don't have too much and we have the right stuff. We put the game plan in.
I know we talked about time of possession and all that stuff, but
What's that stat?
It's a lot. It's 2-1. It's crazy. But has it helped you guys emphasize your point how important third downs are? Because your guys' ability to convert them and stop them they've created almost a whole extra quarter where you have the ball over the other team in each of these games. So has that helped you guys further emphasize how important that is?
Yeah, the situational stuff, huge. The third down conversions on offense, we've been pretty good. The defensive third down, it was all 3 and out, right? All 3 and out in the second half last week. So, yeah, when you have that, I think your time of possession obviously goes up. Your defense is on the field for 42 or something like that plays in the last game. I think the offense had 80-something. Yeah, that changes the game, the time of possession. Some teams, I always listen to coordinators. I think it's funny because you listen to no huddle guys and all that. They're like, time of possession doesn't matter. And if you're scoring points, it really does. If you go score in 5 seconds, right, that's what you're trying to do. And at the same time, when your defense is playing that way, your offense can get out there. We can convert some third downs because you have to convert third downs to keep the ball in possession. I think that helps us. I think that gives us better field position. I think that helps our offense get into a rhythm. I think it discourages the other offenses when they can't get into a rhythm. You're 3 and out. You get turnovers like we did. We're pulling the ball out. We're pursuing like we did on defense. That was one thing just on the defensive side. Keikoa created 2 turnovers. He stripped one, and then he had the pick. And then the pursuit of our defense, after the first quarter, we started running to the ball. We're getting to some of those outside zone plays, those sweep plays, or reverse plays and all that. It was good to see. We worked a lot in the off season about just kind of, we call it plant foot, drive foot, right? Change of direction. Simple as that. That ball is going, you're going that way, and that ball starts going that way. You put your foot in the ground and you just start rolling. And our team, if you watch them on film, it's just boom, boom, and they're all back. And they're pursuing the ball. That was exciting to see because we've been working a lot on it too, of just getting guys to the football. And you're seeing Zeke Noah, he was flying around, making big plays. Keikoa is coming downhill. Tyreek Jones settled in. He started coming downhill and making some plays. And it was just, it was good to see that pursuit from the defense. I think that's one of the keys. If you got a defense that can pursue the ball, they're going to get guys in space. Every offense will get somebody in space, right? It's just when it happens, how fast can you get multiple players to the ball? And I think that's what we did. And what happens from there, 1st and 10 becomes 2nd and 8. And it could have easily been 2nd and 6, 2nd and 4. But now it's 2nd and 8, now it's 3rd and 4, and now getting to third downs, you can pull out a variety of different things in those situations.
Okay.